The truth shattered on a 4-hour flight to Miami as I clutched a silver bracelet, my surprise for a wife who'd already chosen her path. My name is Alvin Gray, and I'm 35 years old. I run a remodeling business built on precision and trust, qualities I thought defined my marriage to Giselle. Seeing her wrapped around Trent Mallory in that hotel cabana didn't just break something inside me, it rewrote everything. Gone were our quiet dinners, the life we'd built, the future I'd planned. Even Scout, our shepherd mix, seemed to sense the shift when I returned home. But I didn't explode. Instead, I documented. Every receipt, every text, every lie became evidence. Attorney Alicia Park knew exactly how to weaponize truth against deception. To anyone who's been betrayed while keeping faith, this isn't a story of forgiveness. It's about justice, served cold and precise. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. But let me start from the beginning. The Miami heat hit like a furnace when I stepped out of my Uber at 2 p.m. I'd chosen a modest hotel 2 blocks from Giselle's resort, close enough to walk, far enough not to run into her accidentally. The bracelet box felt heavy in my pocket as I checked in, its weight a reminder of how stupid hope can be. My room was basic, but clean. I set my bag down and pulled out my phone, typing out a casual message to Giselle. "How's the girls' trip going?" "Weather looks amazing down there." The response came quickly. "Having the best time. By the pool with Shirley and Kate. Wish you could see these sunsets." I knew Shirley was in Seattle. I'd seen her Instagram story that morning. At 3:15 p.m., I walked through the resort's marble lobby, following the path to her room number, information I'd sweet-talked from the front desk with a story about surprising my wife. The key card worked first try. Inside, the suite smelled of lime and her favorite perfume, but something was off. A second toothbrush by the sink. Men's flip-flops, size 11, kicked carelessly under the bed. A business card from some corporate office with the name Trent Mallory tucked into the mirror frame. Laughter drifted up from the pool area. I followed it to a row of private cabanas, my steps measured, controlled. The last one on the right had its curtains drawn, but not completely. Through the gap, I saw them. Giselle wrapped in Trent's arms, both in swimwear, her head thrown back in laughter at something he'd whispered. I pulled back the curtain. "Say his name." Giselle froze, her face draining of color. "Alvin, say his name." "Trent," she spat, like the truth was poison she needed to get out. The man, Trent, gave me a lazy smirk. "You're making a scene." "Shut up," I said, my voice steady. "You started this scene." "It's not what you think," Giselle started, but I was already pulling up screenshots on my phone. "The spa charges from last month? The weekend you were visiting your sister?" I swiped through receipts. "The room service for 2 when I was at that contractors conference." "You're never home," she shot back. "Always with your spreadsheets, your business, your precious budgets." "Our life," I corrected. "The one you agreed to build. The one you've been lying about." "You don't understand." I hit record on my phone, holding it steady. "I understand perfectly. Say it again. Who is he?" She glared at me, mascara starting to run. "Trent. His name is Trent." I nodded once, stopped the recording, and turned to leave. A security guard was hovering nearby, probably drawn by our voices, but I walked past him calmly. My hands didn't shake until I was back in the lobby, playing back the video, hearing her voice admit Trent over and over. Back in my hotel room at 7 p.m., I spread everything across the bed like I was building one of my project timelines. Hotel receipts, screenshots of texts, photos from the cabana that showed timestamps. My hands were steady now as I arranged them in chronological order, starting with the first suspicious charge from 3 months ago. The air conditioning hummed as I pulled up Alicia Park's number. Gabe had recommended her after his cousin's divorce, said she was the kind of attorney who'd rather win with paperwork than drama. She answered on the second ring. "Alicia Park speaking." "Miss Park, this is Alvin Gray. Gabe Turner gave me your number. I need to file for divorce. Today." A pause, then the sound of papers shuffling. "Tell me what happened, Mr. Gray. Just the facts." I laid it out like I was reviewing a contract bid. The suspicious charges, the fake girls' trip, finding Trent Mallory in the cabana with my wife, the recorded confession. My voice stayed level, though my jaw ached from clenching. "You have documentation?" she asked. "Everything. Credit card statements, photos, video, hotel records. Good. Listen carefully. Do not confront her again until you're back home. Document any communication. Forward everything to the secure email I'm about to send you. We file first thing tomorrow morning. Where are you now? Hotel room 2 blocks from hers. Stay there. Pack copies of everything. When's your flight back? Tomorrow afternoon. Perfect. I'll have papers ready when you land. Remember, no contact, no confrontations, no emotional texts. You're in evidence-gathering mode now. At 9 p.m., I sat at the small desk, scanning and uploading everything to the secure folder Alicia had sent. Each receipt told its own story. Room service for 2, spa treatments, champagne charges when I thought she was having coffee with friends. The truth had been there all along, printed in black and white on our shared credit card statements. My phone buzzed. Giselle. 3 missed calls already. I silenced it and opened my text to Gabe instead. At 11:30 p.m., I typed, "Need your garage tomorrow night." His response came immediately. "Beer's cold. Got your back." The bracelet box sat on the nightstand, mocking me. At midnight, I stood over the trash bin, holding the silver piece I'd picked out because it matched her favorite earrings. "She buried this marriage in Miami," I whispered, dropping it in. The soft thud felt final. My phone lit up again. Giselle. I opened our text thread, fingers hovering over the keyboard, started typing. "I'm sorry then deleted it, letter by letter. Instead, I opened my alarm app and created a new one for 7 a.m. File divorce. Call Alicia. Remember that old saying about seeing red when you're angry? That's not how it works. Real anger is ice cold and crystal clear. As I looked at that alarm label, everything came into focus. Tomorrow wouldn't be about rage or revenge. It would be about consequences. I hit delete on the draft apology text. Giselle had already written our ending in that cabana. Tomorrow, I'd just make it official. The plane's wheels touched down at 10:15 a.m., and I clutched the manila folder like it held classified documents. In a way, it did. Proof of a double life that had been playing out right under my nose. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Giselle. I deleted them without listening. Alicia Park's office was exactly what you'd expect from someone Gabe called the quiet assassin. Clean lines, minimal decoration, and a conference room that looked more like a war room. She stood when I entered, extending a firm handshake. "You brought everything?" she asked. I placed the folder on her desk. Every receipt, every photo, every recording from yesterday. The next hour blurred into signatures and strategy. Alicia's pen tapped each document with precision as she explained our approach. First, we're filing before she can. That matters. Second, we're securing your accounts immediately. Third, we document Scout's care and custody starting today. The mention of Scout made my throat tight. I remembered the day we'd adopted him, how Giselle had cried when he first wagged his tail at us. Now I had to protect him too. "What about the business?" I asked. "Document everything. Every contract, every invoice, every piece of equipment you owned before marriage. We'll need it for mediation." At 4 p.m., I pulled into Gabe's garage. The familiar smell of motor oil and coffee hit me as I walked in. He didn't say much, just cleared his workbench and helped me spread out the timeline. "Jesus," he muttered, looking at the hotel receipts. "How long?" 3 months that I can prove. I lined up credit card statements next to restaurant bills. "Maybe longer." Gabe picked up a photo from the cabana. "You kept it together better than I would have." "Had to. The second you lose control, you lose everything." My phone buzzed. Giselle again. Gabe glanced at it. "She's going to show up at your house." "That's why Scout's going to my mom's." I checked my watch. "Need to move him by 6:30. Scout knew something was wrong the moment I walked in. He pressed against my leg, whining softly. I knelt down, scratching behind his ears. "Just for a few days, buddy." Mom didn't ask questions when I dropped him off, just hugged me and said she'd document everything. By 8 p.m., I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open to a fresh spreadsheet. The house felt wrong without Scout's nails clicking on the hardwood. I labeled the first tab, Day 1 Miami Discovery, and started typing. Timestamps, location data, video clips of Giselle laughing with Trent by the pool, her face flushed with something that looked like freedom but smelled like betrayal. Scout's favorite tennis ball sat in the corner, forgotten in the rush to pack his things. I stared at it while the printer hummed, spitting out the first page of what would become our case. My finger hovered over the print button for the timeline as Scout's empty bed caught my eye. The printer whirred to life, each page another nail in the coffin of a marriage I thought would last forever. I pulled into Eleanor and Patrick's driveway at exactly 10 a.m., the manila envelope heavy with truth on the passenger seat. The familiar smell of Eleanor's coffee and cinnamon rolls wafted through the screen door, the same breakfast she'd made the morning after Giselle and I announced our engagement. Amazing how memories can turn bitter so fast. Eleanor opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes were rimmed red, but her spine was straight. Patrick stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder. "Come in, Alvin," she said softly. "We've been waiting." Their kitchen looked exactly the same. Yellow curtains, perfectly arranged magnets on the fridge, family photos everywhere. I noticed Eleanor had already turned one frame face down. It was probably from our wedding. "I need to show you something," I said, settling at their oak table. "And it's going to hurt." Patrick pulled out chairs for Eleanor and himself. "We're ready." I spread the evidence methodically, like Alicia had taught me. Hotel receipts first, then bank statements showing hidden transfers. Photos from the cabana came last. Eleanor's hand flew to her mouth when she saw Giselle wrapped around Trent. "We trusted her," Eleanor whispered, fingers trembling as she touched a receipt. "All those girls' trips." Patrick hadn't spoken yet. He just stared at the proof of his daughter's betrayal, shoulders heavy with the weight of it. When I played the audio from the cabana confrontation, he closed his eyes. "There's more," I said, pulling out my phone. "Security footage from their meetups, text messages, everything's documented." Eleanor wiped her eyes. "She told us you were controlling, that you tracked her spending because you didn't trust her." "I tracked our budget because we had goals," I corrected gently. "House repairs, retirement planning, maybe kids someday." She knew every number. At 10:45, Eleanor's phone chimed. She glanced at it, then gasped. "Oh God," she breathed. "Karen just sent me. You need to see this." She turned her phone toward me. The video showed Giselle and Trent at some rooftop bar, drinks in hand, laughing. The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago. "Getting away with it is the best part," Giselle's voice rang clear through the speaker. "He's so busy with his precious spreadsheets, he doesn't even know." Trent's response made my stomach turn. "Here's to upgrading your life." Eleanor's hands shook as she forwarded me the clips. "Karen's daughter works at that bar. She's been sitting on these, not knowing what to do." Patrick replayed the video silently, his face growing harder with each viewing. I could see the moment his last hope crumbled. I pulled out my phone and opened my email. Subject line, "Leaked evidence, from Eleanor." I attached the clips and sent them straight to Alicia. Eleanor picked up her phone, scrolling to Giselle's number. Her finger hovered over the call button as Patrick hit play on the rooftop video one more time, this time without sound. The morning sun caught the tears in Eleanor's eyes as she pressed call. I sat in Alicia's office, watching the second hand tick past 2 o'clock when Eleanor's text lit up my phone. "We confronted her." My stomach tightened as I clicked the voice memo she'd attached. "Explain these videos, Giselle." Eleanor's voice was steel-wrapped silk. The background noise suggested Giselle was somewhere public, probably that little cafe she loved, the one with the overpriced lattes and tin ceiling tiles that made everything echo. "What videos?" Giselle's tone shifted from confusion to anger in 2 syllables. "Did Alvin send you something?" God, he's so controlling, tracking my every move, turning my own parents against me. "The rooftop bar," Patrick cut in. His voice carried that quiet authority that had always commanded respect at family dinners. 2 weeks ago, you and Trent Mallory, and bragging about getting away with it." The cafe noise died as Giselle presumably stepped outside. "Those are edited. He's trying to manipulate you, just like he manipulated our whole marriage with his obsessive budgeting and—" "The truth is on video." Patrick's words fell like a judge's gavel. "Your own words, Giselle. Your own actions. I can't believe you're taking his side." The shrillness in her voice made me wince. "After everything I told you about how suffocating—" Eleanor's voice cracked slightly. "We raised you better than this." The call ended with Giselle's angry hang-up tone. At 3, I walked Alicia through the new evidence. She arranged everything methodically. Bank statements, hotel receipts, screenshots, and now the rooftop footage. "The parents' testimony will be crucial," Alicia said, labeling another exhibit. "Their confrontation call proves she can't claim ignorance or manipulation. She's caught in her own words." By 5:30, I was spreading papers across Gabe's workbench. The garage smelled like motor oil and steel, honest smells that helped clear my head. Gabe printed witness statements while I sorted through photos of Giselle's secret credit card statements. Remember when she claimed that spa weekend was with her college roommate? Gabe shook his head, pointing to a hotel charge. Same weekend, same resort as one of Trent's business trips. My phone buzzed at 7:15. Giselle's text glowed accusingly. You humiliated me. This isn't over. I took a screenshot without responding, then forwarded it to Alicia. Let Giselle dig her own grave with threats and tantrums. Every message was just another exhibit sticker waiting to happen. She's cornered, Gabe muttered as I numbered another photo. And she knows it. The memory of our first date flickered through my mind. Giselle laughing at some stupid joke I'd made about construction permits, her eyes bright with what I thought was honesty. Now all I could see was calculation, wondering if she'd been planning exits even then. I smoothed another exhibit sticker onto a particularly damning bank statement. The fluorescent garage lights hummed overhead as Gabe and I worked in companionable silence, building the case that would end my marriage one document at a time. I adjusted my tie in the courthouse mirror, trying to steady my hands. The fluorescent lights made everyone look slightly ill, but my reflection showed determination rather than defeat. Stay calm, Alicia murmured, arranging files in her leather briefcase. Let them make demands. We have receipts. The mediation room felt like a pressure cooker at 9 sharp. Giselle's lawyer, a shark in an expensive suit, laid out their demands like he was reading a shopping list. Mrs. Gray seeks spousal support of $4,000 monthly 50% interest in Gray Remodeling LLC, full ownership of the marital home, and primary custody of the dog, Scout. He paused for effect. These terms are non-negotiable. My jaw clenched, but I kept my face neutral. The familiar scent of courthouse coffee and lemon cleaner grounded me as Alicia opened her first folder. Let's discuss evidence before demands, she said smoothly. The projector hummed to life. Exhibit A, hotel receipts from Miami, paired with Mrs. Gray's texts claiming girls' weekend. Click. Exhibit B, rooftop bar footage, date stamped, showing Mrs. Gray and Mr. Mallory discussing their deception. Giselle shifted in her chair, her designer blouse suddenly seeming too tight at the collar. Exhibit C, Alicia continued, security footage from the Gray residence, showing Mrs. Gray's physical aggression during confrontation. The clip played silently, Giselle shoving me near the stove, her face contorted with rage. Her lawyer's confident smirk had faded considerably by 11:30 when the mediator announced temporary orders. The marital home will remain with Mr. Gray. Gray Remodeling LLC is confirmed as separate property. Scout will stay with Mr. Gray. All joint accounts are frozen pending final resolution. Relief flooded through me like a summer storm. I remembered Scout's worried eyes when I'd left that morning, and now I could tell him we were staying home. The victory lasted exactly 4 hours and 50 minutes. At 4:20, my phone buzzed with an overdraft notice. I opened my banking app to find $14,000 missing, transferred out just hours before the freeze took effect. My payroll account was empty. Call the bank, Alicia directed when I showed her. I'll draft an emergency motion. But the damage was done. Payroll had already bounced. 8 good men who'd trusted me to keep their families fed were going to find empty accounts tomorrow. My phone vibrated again at 5 o'clock. A text from Trent. Mind your tone next time. I stared at those words glowing on my screen, each letter pulsing like a threat. The courthouse had emptied around me, leaving just the hollow echo of footsteps in distant corridors and the weight of what this war might cost. The morning sun caught the stack of unpaid invoices on my desk, turning their edges into accusatory gold. I'd been up since 5, reviewing transaction logs until the numbers blurred. My coffee had gone cold twice. At 7 sharp, I dialed the bank's fraud department, drumming my fingers against the desk while automated voices guided me through the maze of options. Finally, a human voice. How can I assist you today? I need device logs for transfers made yesterday between 2 and 4 p.m., I said, keeping my tone steady. Account ending in 4721. The representative clicked through screens. I see the transfers. 14,000 total. I'm noting suspicious patterns here. Email me everything, I said. My IP addresses, timestamps, device IDs. Every detail matters. By 9:15, Alicia had the logs in her inbox. Her call came at 9:30. Emergency hearing tomorrow at 9. The judge isn't happy about the timing of those transfers. I leaned back in my chair, relief mixing with dread. My guys need their pay today. Handle payroll first, she advised. We'll nail them on the fraud tomorrow. The loan officer at First Regional knew me. I'd financed 3 work trucks through them. At noon, she approved a short-term loan to cover payroll. The interest would hurt, but my team's families came first. I called each worker personally. Mike had a newborn. Sam's kid needed braces. They'd trusted me with their livelihoods. Bank glitch, I explained to each one. Money's coming today. I'm sorry for the stress. They were gracious. Every single one. Made me more determined to make this right. Gabe showed up at 3 with a stack of sandwiches and that steady look he'd had since high school. Figured you hadn't eaten. Thanks. I gestured to the corkboard where I'd started mapping the money trail. Help me make sense of these traces? We pinned printouts, connected dots with red string. The device IDs matched Giselle's phone. The IP addresses tracked to locations she'd visited, but one transfer originated from Trent's office network. Got you, Gabe muttered, marking the connection. At 6:45, Scout padded into the office and curled up beside my chair. I'd been practicing my testimony, following Alicia's advice. Impact, not anger. The unauthorized transfers occurred within hours of the mediation order, I rehearsed, scratching Scout's ears. Bank records confirmed device signatures. This wasn't impulse. It was calculated. My phone calendar buzzed. Hearing, 9 a.m. tomorrow. I pinned the final printout, a screenshot of Trent's threatening text, to the board. The evidence formed a web of betrayal, each thread leading back to deliberate choices they'd made. Scout whined softly, pressing his head against my leg. Even he could feel the weight of tomorrow. The courthouse corridors echoed with morning footsteps as Alicia straightened my already straight tie. Facts win, she whispered, her eyes sharp with focus. Let them bring drama. We bring evidence. I nodded, remembering all those nights organizing documents, building our case piece by piece. The weight of my leather briefcase felt reassuring against my palm. Every paper inside was another nail in their coffin. The courtroom doors opened at 9 sharp. My shoulders tensed as Giselle swept in, wearing what I recognized as her sympathy outfit. Modest navy dress, pearls, hair pulled back like some kind of wounded innocent. I'd seen her practice these looks in our bathroom mirror for client meetings. The memory tasted bitter. Judge Harrison's gavel cracked the morning silence. Counsel, proceed. Giselle's performance started right on cue, trembling voice, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. Your Honor, my husband's controlling nature, his obsession with money. I just needed to breathe. My jaw clenched, but Alicia's hand touched my arm, our signal to stay steady. When it was our turn, she rose with quiet confidence. Your Honor, we'll let evidence speak. She clicked through slides methodically. Bank records showing transfers from Mrs. Gray's device, time-stamped within hours of the temporary orders. The next slide showed CCTV footage. Trent at an ATM, loading prepaid cards. The timestamp matched our bank records perfectly. Furthermore, Alicia continued, hotel receipts from Miami, rooftop bar footage showing Mrs. Gray and Mr. Mallory discussing their plans and, she paused for effect, security camera footage from Mr. Gray's office showing Mrs. Gray accessing his computer after hours. Each piece landed like a hammer blow. I watched Giselle's face shift from practiced sympathy to genuine panic. Her lawyer kept scribbling notes, but his shoulders had already slumped. Judge Harrison reviewed our exhibits carefully, his reading glasses perched low on his nose. The silence stretched until he looked up. The evidence is conclusive, he declared. Divorce granted. Given the documented financial misconduct, no spousal support awarded. Mrs. Gray will be liable for Mr. Gray's legal fees. He paused, shuffling papers. The house is awarded to Mr. Gray, business ownership remains separate as established, and primary custody of the dog scout is granted to Mr. Gray. My chest loosened for the first time in months. Additionally, the judge continued, I'm referring evidence of potential fraud to the prosecutor's office for review. Giselle's sharp intake of breath cut through the courtroom. As we filed out, she caught me in the hallway. Her fingers gripped my sleeve, her voice dropping to that whisper she used when she wanted something. We can fix us. I looked at her hand on my arm, the same hand that had withdrawn my money, the same fingers that had typed lies about business trips while she met Trent, the same touch that had once meant everything, now hollow as a stage prop. We died in Miami, I said quietly, removing her hand. I buried it today. Her face crumpled, but I'd seen too many of her performances to trust it. I turned away, following Alicia toward the elevator when my phone buzzed. An HR notice about Trent's termination lit up my screen. I set the divorce decree on my kitchen table, steam rising from my coffee mug like victory incense. The heavy cardstock felt solid under my fingers, more real than any promise Giselle had ever made. Scout patted over and rested his chin on my knee, those loyal brown eyes saying more than words could. My phone buzzed. Eleanor had forwarded an email, subject line, HR notice, personnel change. I clicked it open, coffee forgotten. Due to conduct unbecoming and actions harmful to company reputation, Trent Mallory's employment has been terminated effectively immediately. I read it twice, letting each word sink in. The clips had done their work, spreading through office gossip channels like wildfire. Karma doesn't always arrive on schedule, but when it does, it hits hard. Later that evening, Gabe texted me, "O'Malley's, now, you need to see this." I found him at our usual corner table, grinning like he had a secret. The bar hummed with after-work crowds, familiar faces from the corporate offices downtown. Then I saw him, Trent, hunched at the bar, nursing what looked like expensive whiskey. "Watch this," Gabe whispered. A group of suits, Trent's former colleagues, raised their glasses. "A toast," one called out. "To the downgrade." Laughter rippled through the bar. Trent's neck flushed red, spreading to his face like a rash. He knocked back his drink, slammed the glass down, and stormed out, shoulder-checking a chair on his way. "Poetry," Gabe said quietly. "Pure poetry." The months that followed felt like cleaning house after a long illness. I paid off the emergency loan bit by bit, pride growing with each transfer. Scout's favorite photo, him mid-leap after a frisbee, found its place in a simple frame above his bed. Every morning that image reminded me what loyalty really looked like. Giselle's checks arrived monthly, small amounts that barely dented her court-ordered fees, but each one felt like another brick removed from the wall between me and freedom. Her signature got messier each time, like she couldn't bear to write her name clearly anymore. When the holidays rolled around, Eleanor and Patrick's card arrived. No family photo, no lengthy message, just season's greetings and their names. Neutral ground. I appreciated the gesture for what it was, acknowledgement without expectation. I started venturing out more, but carefully. Coffee meetups instead of dinner dates. Clear boundaries instead of rushing in. At a friend's barbecue, someone caught my eye. No dramatic sparks, just easy conversation about rescue dogs and favorite hiking trails. Later that night, my phone lit up. "Dinner sometime, no lies." I stared at the text, thumb hovering over the keyboard. The old me would have jumped in, trusted too quickly. But I'd learned. Trust is built, not given. I saved the number under maybe and set the phone aside, letting possibility rest there without pressure. For the first time in what felt like years, I took a deep breath that didn't catch in my chest. The air tasted clean, free of betrayal's bitter aftertaste. Scout curled up at my feet, and I smiled, knowing we'd both sleep soundly tonight. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.